welcome Dimitris to Thinking Backwards. I've been planning on doing this for a while, and I'm super pumped about it. I like your style. I like what you're doing on social media. And why don't you tell us a bit about who you are and what do you do?
Yeah. First of all, thanks a lot for having me. I'm really excited to be here as well. As you said, my name is Dimitris. I'm originally from Greece and I'm now living in Germany for the last 3.5 years. I originally studied music, and this is what brought me to Germany actually to do my master's in violin. But I was also at the same time, just for fun, playing around, messing around with Instagram and social media in general, and this started to evolve. They started to evolve, and it came to a point where I had to make a choice actually between music and social media and this other whole new world. And this is what I did. I chose social media and completely changed my life at the age of 20, 24, 25. I'm active on Instagram mostly, as you said. Doing a little bit of lifestyle, fashion, and not as much blogging, but more in the field of showing a lifestyle, just like simple, minimal, and reevaluating what you do every day, how you choose your clothes, how you choose to live, and yeah, just fun and sharing my life and sharing what I like.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I've been getting into that lately. I wasn't the type of person to share what I'm doing or stuff like that, but lately I've been doing it with this podcast, and I'm starting something on YouTube, and I really enjoy this like creative uh, process behind all of this, and I'm sure there's a whole creative process to what you're doing. Um, you always have to stay like I mean, it's a game, right? It's a business. Like you need to stay consistent. You need to always be posting super nice stuff. You need to stay up with the community that follows you. What are they doing? And do you want to keep them updated on yourself? What is the process for you there? Like, is it do you plan the shoots depending on what you feel the community is looking for, or is it something that you know you feel good about and you're like, yeah, I like this style, I want to do this, I want to do that? So how does it work for you?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna say a little bit about what you said about sharing your life and sharing what you do and everything. It's funny because I've also been through all these phases of, do I want to share what I'm doing right now? Do I not want to? Do I want to be distant from my phone? Do I want to be on my phone and doing stuff like that? For me, it was always like a struggle between these choices, and I always find that what I'm trying to do is being very, very conscious about what I'm doing at the time that I'm doing it. I'm always trying to document everything that I'm doing, not for the sake of posting it on social media, just for the sake of me having it 10 years from now and looking back into memories with my friends, my family, what I'm eating, where I'm going, what places I'm seeing, and everything. So I already I'm looking back into a couple of photos from a couple of years ago, and it makes me so happy to see on this day what was I doing 3 years ago. Where was I? What was I eating? What was I doing? So this is a part of me creating memories for the future. The social media part and sharing on social media comes as a form of not necessity, but it's kind of keeping your audience active and keeping people interested in what you do and what you offer. Now, when it comes to the creative process, there's actually different kinds of posts on Instagram. Myself and what I'm doing has mostly to do with photography and fashion, as we said before. So there's like two different types of posts that I'm going to be posting online. It's either going to be sponsored posts, which means that I'm getting paid from a client to promote some specific product, or I'm being paid from a client to create some content for them. So I'm doing photography for some clients. or I'm sharing parts and photos of what I have here with me, what I'm wearing, things that I bought myself, or where I'm going and stuff like that. So we have to look at those two different types of posts before we actually say a little bit about the process, because when it comes to just posting stuff of my everyday life, like clothes I already have, food I'm eating in the house, or places I'm seeing, it's just photos that I'm naturally taking for myself as well. So there's not really a big creative process there. It's just years of training in photography that goes back to what I'm creating at the end. But this doesn't really need a lot of preparation. It's more of an everyday thing where you just take photos of what you're doing and what you're seeing. When it comes, of course, to paid projects, this is a whole different story, because there you need to have a plan. There's usually creative briefs that you get from your clients, where there's like a few guidelines of what they're looking for, a specific style, or anything that they have in mind, of course, with the creativity, with the freedom of your creativity in place, so you can do your own thing. But just to have like a general, a matching style, what they're looking for and what you can create. So there needs to be a preparation, and usually this means what I'm personally doing. I'm creating mood boards of similar projects, or even just photos that I really like that could match a certain photography style of the project that I'm working on, or even just like color palettes and props and everything that comes to mind when I'm thinking of the product that I have to take photos of.
Where did you start growing your channel? Like, when did you realize, okay, this is something I want to like do and maintain for the long term? I don't want to start growing it. Where did that happen, and what was your strategy, if there was a strategy? Like, was it something that you just enjoyed doing and naturally happened, or did you have a strategy in mind that worked for you, and maybe it will work for the rest of us?
Well, when I started, it was honestly just for fun, and also because I was actually watching other people on social media getting free stuff from brands just to advertise them. And I was like, wait a second. Is this actually possible? Can you actually be gifted or even paid from other people so they can send you stuff so you can post something online? I was like, that's crazy for me. That was like crazy talk. And my original plan was to be able to achieve a point where brands would reach out to me and say, hey, we really like what you're doing. Would you like to get like a couple of pieces that we have and just take a couple of photos of them, and you can keep the clothes, of course, or whatever the product was. So at the beginning, this was my goal, and what I did was actually I found my niche. I found my particular posting style, and what I did, I was actually watching a lot and taking notes of already successful creators on that specific niche. I was checking what are they posting, what time do they post, what hashtags do they use, how often do they post, what's the style of content that they use, etc., etc. I was like checking their strategies and like taking notes. And at the beginning it was actually crazy, because I was setting alarms to post on specific times. I was posting every day, every single day, no matter what was happening in my life. I already had content ready for the next few days, and I was like being very punctual and very active and all that stuff. Later down the road, this changed because my content style changed as well. As we evolve, what we do evolves with us, of course. And I actually reached this point of me getting free stuff from brands without even asking myself. They were just coming to me and saying, you want this, you want that, you want that. Very quickly, but this never at that point was a sustainable plan, or actually a job for me in my mind at that point. It was just like a side thing that would give me all this fancy stuff that I was actually loving already.
Okay, so you were in it for the clothes.
Clothes and just sharing, my everyday styles and everything. But this all changed as we progressed and the offers started becoming much more serious, and like instead of me getting a couple of emails per day from brands saying, hey, you want to try this, you want to try that, it just became, hey, we have this new collection, we would really like you to take some photos or do some stories on Instagram, and this is the budget that we have, can we work with that, etc., etc. So this started becoming a more serious conversation with the brands. And this and the point for me that just started made me thinking, okay, there is something here, I need to start looking into what I'm doing, was on the summer of 2018, when I was actually invited to a press trip by Mr. Porter in Berlin.
Oh, wow.
to start talking about advertising their new collection, the Mr. P line of clothes. And there I met other people my age at that point that were doing this full time, and I was like, okay, wait, so this is actually a job. There's people living out of just posting stuff on Instagram and being active and taking nice photos. And this was like a very, very serious pivoting point for me, because this changed my whole thinking about what is a job actually? How can one make a living out of something? And yeah, this was actually through through talking and connecting with these people that are actually friends of mine right now. I was like, okay, this is actually serious. There's something here, and if I'm being invited to the same events as they are, and I'm just like not doing it very seriously, I'm just doing it for fun, there might be something here for me as well. Honestly, still to this day, haven't really got the grasp that I was able to, and I'm still able to make a living out of doing this. I'm still like pinching myself to see if it's true, but yeah, this was it actually. This was the story so far.
Are you at the point where your friends now call you an influencer or any of those words? And how do you feel about them? Because I know a lot of people don't like being called an influencer. Some people just don't care. They're like, yeah, you can call me whatever. So, what do you feel is the definition of the word? And do you associate yourself with it?
To be completely honest, I'm not an influencer, and I will tell you exactly why. Um, Through this journey of mine with social media, I had the chance to not just be on the creative side of things, creating the content for the brands, but also had the opportunity, and I'm still doing it, to work with the brands, to work as part of the brand, reaching out to other creators and creating this whole relationship between brand and creators. So having played on both sides of the table, I can definitely say that I'm not an influencer. An influencer is somebody who usually has an audience. The numbers can vary, you know, the micro, macro, etc. There's a lot of definitions about influencing and influencers, but these are usually people that the main product that they're advertising is themselves and not something else. So this is the people that you see on the store, on Instagram stories, talking about something, or even sharing everyday life events or anything that they do. This is what in my mind is an influencer, where people can relate to their lifestyle every day, and they're staying there, they're being very, very close to them, and the influencers are sharing every moment of their lives. And there's this other side of creators on Instagram, which I call photographers or just creators or anything in that aspect. These are usually people that are taking a distance from being the product themselves and actually showing something else. They're either showing products, or they're showing themselves with products, or just like their everyday lives, but not with them personally being there. This is what I do. I'm trying to take a distance from me being on my social media all the time. And so I'm not an influencer on that subject. I'm more of a content creator, and there's people calling me an influencer. I don't really care that much, honestly, but it's not something that I like being called.
Yeah. No, I get that. Which do you think you will ever go move into you yourself being the product while having other products to showcase, or is this something that you're not interested in?
I'm not really interested in that because I really value being able to preserve a certain privacy in my life, and I'd rather be showing, or not showcasing, of course, showing and creating value through my skills and my skill set and my not knowledge but studying and understanding, rather than being myself the product that's being advertised.
Okay.
So maybe someone is listening, or me, for example. I'm trying to grow my social media presence on multiple platforms. I feel like I'm overthinking it a lot. I feel like I keep thinking, like, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I post this? Should I post this? I'm not sure what to do. Should I keep it more natural that whatever I find cool I post, or do you think I have to keep this like certain like consistency of style and stuff? Because I if I look at your page or I look at any other people who are posting content, usually you see there's this style. I mean, there's this whole grid, for example, on Instagram of like similar colors and all of that. There's this aesthetic to it. And every time I think to myself, okay, maybe I need to do something like that, it feels like it's just too much work for me to think about the colors and do all of those things. I can do it. It just feels like a lot of work. Do you do that, or is it really just natural to you? Do you just, I like this photo, like, this is one of my favorites, so I'm gonna post it. This is what I'm gonna do today. What's the process there for us to grow our channels if
Not
we want to?
really a formula for success, because if you
Obviously,
study successful Instagram profiles in general, it doesn't have to be people, it can also be brands or whatever, you will see completely different approaches.
yeah,
There's super successful people that are really posting whatever, with not really paying attention to what they're doing. And there's like people or brands that are very meticulous and very specific about things they post. So my suggestion to everybody who's looking to grow on social media in general is, first of all, understand and find what you like to post. Because, of course, posting whatever doesn't mean you're not really posting whatever specifically in a niche. It's not
yeah,
like you're going to be posting business quotes today, or and tomorrow a landscape, and the next day your coffee, and the next day workout routines. You are still going to be doing something in a specific niche. I personally plan my feed ahead. I use apps that let me move my photos around and see what fits perfectly in this point, and later on at that point, what can I use then to make it match? Not just from a color aspect, but also from an aesthetic aspect in general. Um, but honestly, just doing what you like, posting what you like, and being consistent, doesn't matter what you're going to post. If you're being specific to a niche and being consistent, this is all you need to be successful. It doesn't come overnight.
obviously,
And nowadays it's even more difficult to grow than the older days that I was actually growing, because for me it came quickly. But I was very lucky to be at that point of 2017-18. That was like super quick growth for everybody. Everybody that was actually posting every day at that point was getting such a big growth rate in general, which
yeah,
today is something that you don't see unless you go super viral with something.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so just being consistent, thinking of the long term plan, is what is actually going to make you successful. Because success, I'm saying successful with quotes, because success is defined differently by anybody. I was
of
happy
course,
when I was even getting like a couple of free clothes a month from brands. This was already success for me, you know?
yeah, yeah, true. Or how do you develop an eye for style, an eye for design?
This is something that I'm consciously thinking about every day. Um, I would say just because I come from an artistic background with studying music and having devoted the biggest part of my life so far into music, um, there's a certain small percentage of, I wouldn't say talent, but I would say something that's already inside you. After that, it's actually like with everything else in life, a lot of practice.
Okay.
What does this mean? This means checking out magazines, being on Instagram, saving specific posts on Instagram, being on Pinterest, researching online, watching trailers of movies, watching shows from designers, watching going to museums and seeing art exhibits, and just checking out more magazines, different style of magazines. It's a process that's always evolving with you as you grow, as you see more places, more cities, more food, more, you're having more experience, you're meeting with new people, new friends. This all, if you think about it consciously, this all becomes part of who you are and what your style is going to be down the road. If you're hanging out with people wearing suits every day and being in a business environment, your eye will naturally be looking out for suits and like
Mm.
ties and like crisp shirts. If you're hanging out with people that are like skaters, you're gonna start looking into Vans shoes and like jeans with ripped legs and like oversized sweaters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So your environment and what you build around you is actually what forms you and what forms your style as well. But you can change that and you can grow that by actually being conscious and trying new stuff, watching new films, as I said, magazines, everything that comes with a visual representation of style or anything.
It's funny because this falls into like so many aspects of life, right? Like who you surround yourself with, humans or anything, aesthetically, influences your future. Literally, it influences your future. I know a lot of people that, like, with their work, their desk setup, like, I'm sure you see it online everywhere now. Like, the desk is so important, and people are like meticulously putting every item in a place just because they want to make sure that when they start working, they have this like creative surrounding, and their output is correlated to their surrounding, which is a creative output. And I find that super amazing. I mean, it applies with everything in life, with your friends, with your surrounding, visually, your room, anything. That's crazy. What do you think is the future of this economy, right? Because this is an economy. Being able to work through Instagram or through YouTube or through any of those channels, this creative economy, creator economy. What do you think is the future of it? Where do you see it going for yourself and for everybody?
It's a great question, actually. As I said before, it's funny to think how we evolved as an economy in general, and how people are actually making money, and not money, but making a living out of so many different and new stuff every single day. We've seen like such a huge evolution since 2010-12 that Facebook and Instagram came into play and started being stronger and stronger and growing. And now we're seeing all these new people doing everything you can imagine and actually being able to make a living out of it. I think that this is actually the future in general, because what we do on social media is the most targeting advertisement that you can find anywhere. The old days of television and radio and all those former older sources of media are
Yeah,
changing, and this, what we do here, is so much more targeted and so much more closer to people, and this is why you see all this evolution happening. I think because we hear so many things about maybe Instagram not like starting to decline and everything. I don't think any of the platforms are going anywhere for the foreseeable future. Actually, of course, we're going to see new platforms rising, and of course we're going to see ups and downs with all the platforms that we already know.
Of
But I
course.
really don't think that social media platforms are going anywhere in the near future. This is
Agree.
part of what we do, and this is part of our everyday lives right now. Can you imagine your life right now without podcasts, without YouTube, without Instagram, without Facebook, without even Netflix? Um, this
True.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
It became such a natural part of our everyday lives. It's completely different. So yeah, the future is here in these areas of social media, and I think, and that's why more and more people are taking advantage of social media every day, because they see that there is something here that you really don't find anywhere else.
Do you think everybody should now start thinking about having some sort of online presence, whether it's a blog, it's a vlog, it's on Instagram, it's any of those channels? Is it, do you think the future is heading towards where your CV, quote unquote, is going to be your online presence? Because I'm seeing this transition of, if you go apply to any job now, or you're talking to someone who's hiring, ask them what are they looking for, or look at the form that you have to fill out. There's always now your own website, like URL, post your own website, or do you have a blog, or do you have a podcast that you want to post, part of applying to the job. And the same thing is when you're hiring someone, you expect the, not you expect it, but you have the certain like, maybe they have something that they do personally on the side, which might be interesting, that will help me make a decision of should I hire this person or not. So is it something that you're seeing with your job, with what you're doing online? Is that something that becoming required more and more?
Yeah, it's actually quite funny because my line of work heavily depends on what I'm doing on social media in general, and if I have a website, and where do I post my content, and where do I show my work. So my personal experience with it is that, yeah, like the biggest part of my CV is actually my blog, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, everything that I have online. Because what I do, I work with clients from all over the world, which means I cannot physically be in every single place all the time. So I can work from here, and the best way to showcase my work is online, so for everybody to see. Um, I don't think CVs are going to be completely overtaken by an online presence. At the end of the day, you were still going to need like an A4 paper being sent out with your information. But I think it's becoming more and more important to have some sort of online presence, whether that is in an Instagram account where you showcase some of your work, or a LinkedIn profile where you professionally show where you worked, what's your education, etc., etc. It's definitely something for everybody, and it doesn't really matter if you're young or older, or you need to have some sort of online presence. Even if just for fun, if you can show somebody that you have a personal blog writing about food or whatever you like, about traveling, this shows that you're dedicated to focusing your time on a very specific subject and being able to be creative about it and write stuff about it. This shows qualities. Somebody who's hiring can see what you're made of and what you're capable of from just reading a blog post that you wrote, or watching what you post on social media in general.
True. True. Yeah, I kept like hearing over the past 2 years that, yeah, just, I don't know, from Gary Vee and those influencers is, yeah, just post, keep posting, just post every day, whatever you like, just talk about it and post it online, and within time you will have a crowd of people that is there for you, and they will follow you, and they will love what you're doing and all of that. For me, that, I don't know why, for the longest time it did not make any sense. I'm like, why would anyone be interested in what I'm interested in? It doesn't make sense to me. That's how I thought about it. I'm like, And there's like other people who are very good in entrepreneurship, which is my main interest, that are like 100 times better. Like people would rather listen to Mark Zuckerberg over Jawad Shrame. That's how I thought about it. But then I started seeing that it doesn't work this way. Like I've seen some of my friends who have started a blog, just literally a blog where they write their own thoughts. Nothing crazy. Just this is my thought on Instagram. This is my thought on Twitter. This is my thought on Snapchat. This is my thought on, and they would write like a very nice blog about it and all of that. And they have thousands of followers. People who are interested in their style, they're interested in them and their opinion. And this was like completely changed my like view of it. Right? I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Okay, I need to be more active. Honestly, like I need to be more active because a lot of the time I do have something to say. I just don't say it because I'm like, yeah, nobody wants to, nobody cares. But the reality is that there are people who care. And I think more and more as we progress, we are going to see this demand of we need to see your point of view. We need to understand who you are because now we're living in this digital world, and this digital world is just growing like crazy. Like it's never gonna stop. Like you said, not anytime soon. It's just gonna keep going. And yeah, I feel like all of us need to start being a bit more active. You don't have to show your face or anything. It could be literally behind a blog with a random name, or it could be anything. But I do agree that there has to be something there. Someone looks for you. They're trying to understand your point of view of the world. It exists. You're not a ghost. And yeah, it's a new world, man. It's a new world.
Just imagine every time I'm getting an email from somebody that I don't know already, whether that's a brand or somebody from a brand or somebody in general, anybody. My contact details are online because of the nature of how Instagram works, so everybody can actually send me an email about anything they want. The first thing that I'm gonna do is actually search their name on Google and see what results can come up. Whether that's a LinkedIn profile, whether that's a Zing profile, whether that's an Instagram profile, or anything actually. So I can see who's actually the person that's sending me the email. Is it some random person from doing nothing in some weird place in the world? Is it somebody that I already know, or is it somebody that I have already some connection, some common friends or something? You know, this creates a whole new world by having an online presence. Somebody can see what you are, who you are, what are you doing in your life, what are you offering to the world. And this can be, as you said, very, very useful to people that hire. Because if they see that you do something, you have immediately potential.
True, true. It creates this like social proof trust system. Right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people that like what this person is doing. So for sure they have something going on for them. Yeah, maybe it's worth a talk. All right. So let's move on from that. You said earlier in the conversation you were deep into this musician lifestyle and you were studying it, you were dedicating your life to it, and then you transitioned into something completely different. Um, what was like? How did you feel about that? It's not easy to change industries, especially after dedicating a whole lot of your life towards a certain industry, and now you're transitioning into something different, and you're kind of, I don't know, like, did you ditch music completely, or is it still part of your life? Are you working on something there? What's happening on that side of things?
Music, if you want to do it professionally, it doesn't really matter if you want to be like a pop musician or a jazz musician or a rock musician or a classical musician, which was the case for me. I was playing classical violin. It's sort of a sport, kind of, if you want to be a professional athlete. It's something that requires a lot of time, a lot of dedication. You need to be there all the time, prepared for everything that will come up. And it's also a brutal world. It's very competitive. It's nobody's waiting for you. You have to be all the time up to speed with everything that's happening around you. Well, I changed my whole lifestyle after dedicating all this time and money and effort into music, just because a question came from my teacher at that point, which made me, which shocked me. He asked me,
Okay.
how do you see yourself in 10 years from now? And
Simple but powerful question.
powerful question indeed. And at first it shocked me, and I tried to think about it, and I was really surprised to see that I was not thinking of violin. I was not thinking of music when I was trying to think myself, how do I want to be in 10 years from now? And this question at that point started making me question my life choices in general, and became the driving force of my choices from that point on. What I'm doing right now and what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years is based on answering that question. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? How do you see your life in 10 years from now? And everything I'm doing goes back to this. When I didn't really think about violin as being part of my life in 10 years from that point, it made me realize that even though I really love music and I've spent my life I've dedicated my life to music, maybe it's something that I really love, but I don't want to be doing it professionally. I don't want to be doing it for a living. And when you start asking yourselves these questions, when you start asking yourself, how would my perfect day be? Starting from the morning, from the moment that you wake up, until the moment you go back to sleep, what do you want to do in these 12, 13, 14, 10 hours, whatever your day may be? When you start thinking about, okay, this is what I want to do with my life, this is when the big decisions and the big thoughts are coming into play. This is when you need to understand what your inner self is telling you and what you want out of life, and start making decisions that will take you towards that direction. And this is a conversation that I'm actually having very often with my friends, because having studied and being part of music for such a long time in my life, the biggest part of my friends are actually musicians. Most of my friends are either musicians or doing something very seriously with music. And
yeah, of course,
it's a job that really makes you question your choices. And this is a conversation I'm having very often with my friends, because they're always doubting their life choices, and most of them are coming to me just because I did this sudden change in my life, and they're like, how did you do it? Why did you do it? Can we talk about what I'm going through with my life right now? And this always makes me very happy, because it is always through, not difficult times per se, but it's always through times that you're actually questioning what you're doing, that you really understand and realize what your life should be like. Because when everything is good and everything is running smoothly, nobody's questioning. We're just going with the flow. When things are really taking a turn to the worse, this is when you start thinking, okay, is this worth it? Am I doing the right thing? And yeah, these questions have and still are on my mind every day, and I try as much as I can, of course, to answer these questions and accordingly adjust my next moves, so I can be one step closer to my perfect lifestyle, perfect day. Yeah.
Amazing. Dude, I usually like to end my episodes with a question to the audience, but I don't know, that question itself. I think will be good enough, right? If you have a different question, go for it. But I think
one of these two questions should be a driving force for everybody. Either where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? Everybody can set their own time limit. Or how would you describe your perfect day? As detailed as possible. One of these two questions is actually something that just makes me happy to discuss with people. And at first it may be difficult for somebody to give an answer, because they start thinking, how can I describe a perfect lifestyle? But even the simple things like, What kind of coffee do you want to drink in the morning when you think about how detailed your lifestyle should be? Or what kind of breakfast do you want to eat? This starts creating like a series of stuff that you want to have there, and this starts creating your choices. How can I get to a point where I can not specifically afford, but not with money, I mean afford, but even with your time to do that, to do this half an hour ritual of me making coffee in the morning. You know, when you know what you want to do in your life, you start making choices that will take you to the perfect lifestyle for you. And this, of course, as we evolve and grow, this will change because your wants and exactly your goals right now are different than what your goals and wants would be in like 5 to 6 years or even 5 to 6 months actually. But this is a growing process. So these two questions would be perfect.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for taking the time. Where can people find you and where can they reach out to you?
I'm on social media on Instagram mostly under Dimitris under dash kolonas Kolonas, or you can find my blog which is dimitriskolonas.com as well. I'm also on LinkedIn and on many other platforms, but yeah, you can easily find me if you Google my name anywhere. There's a lot of stuff that will lead to email addresses and everything.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I am sure everybody benefited from this episode.
Thank you so much. I really had an amazing time talking about everything.
I will see you soon. Ciao.
Yeah.